Sounds good.
Chris Kendall, welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. Excited to be here and connect with everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right. So first, before we get started, tell everybody your Instagram handle so that people can go follow you right now because you're super inspiring and you've got a lot of energy.
Oh, thanks so much. My Instagram and everywhere is The Raw Advantage. Some people know me as the Banana Commander because I eat a lot of bananas, but The Raw Advantage is like everything. So that's me.
If you are watching on YouTube, you just saw Chris put his hand up because he has a tattoo of bananas on the side of his finger. And that is amazing. Okay, good. So here's the deal. Raw food is what Chris eats. And you've been eating this way for, you just told me, 2 decades.
It's close, 18 years this spring, and vegan for over as well. And it's definitely a huge part of what I do. That, and I mean, I got into this because of yoga and other stuff, but we have a little snooter wanting to say hi.
Very cute cat. So
she looks so grumpy.
You've been, cats always do, don't they? Like, seriously, they always do. I love that about them. Are you, okay, so you've been vegan for how long? You said plant-based for how long?
Yeah, I started going towards plant-based in like 2000, but it took me a little bit to fully go there. And I went like committed 100% vegan 18 and a half years ago now.
How old were you then?
Well, I'm 41 now. That would have been in 2002. And so I would have been 22.
You are not 41.
Yeah, I'm 41, 42 this summer.
Okay. If you follow Chris, because you're going to, listeners, you're going to follow him, you would think he's probably 25.
I still live like I'm 25. In fact, I think I live healthier and feel better just like in general. I'm still skateboarding. I just got a professional skateboard just recently. So I feel like I'm in my 20s still for sure.
Yes. And so okay, you said this all started with yoga. Let's just backtrack. I get really excited and I want to kind of ask all the questions before, but we got to start somewhere. Where did it all start?
Well, it all really started because of skateboarding. I've been skateboarding since I was 6 years old, and it was the only thing I could see for many, many years. Like everywhere I traveled, everything I did, I graduated early from school just so I could move and skateboard. And by the time I was 17, I'd moved out. Oh no!
The cat
tipped over. There we go. Hopefully you can still see me.
I can still you're fine.
So by the time I was 17, I moved out, went to Vancouver. And then after that, when I hit 18, I moved to Edmonton, Alberta, because the legal drinking age was 18. Everywhere else in Canada was 19. And that time I drank a lot, and smoked a pack of cigarettes a day. And long story short, like drinking, smoking, eating really crappy fast food all the time, like bacon double cheeseburger pizzas to myself for dinner. I fell apart and I came into depression and didn't really want to live. Most people didn't know it, because I was still trying to be happy and go lucky, but all the things that I really enjoyed became harder and harder. Skateboarding was getting tough and getting out of reach as trying to become a professional. And I wasn't recovering well. And anyways, I knew I needed to find something. And of all places, I found a VHS Rodney Yee Intermediate Power Yoga VHS tape in Walmart. And that completely changed my life. I found that, started doing yoga, and then I started reading about, yogic literature and the Vedas and a whole bunch of different stuff. And that totally opened my mind and my heart to a totally different path.
Wow. Okay. This is crazy town because I have a pretty similar story. You were about 18 or 19, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like 19, 20, doing the same thing, drinking, smoking. It was not good. And you brought me back. You said you were eating like these big quarter-pound, I don't know, pizzas, whatever, to yourself. Yeah. I remember I just had this horrible flashback of me eating like maybe it was Noble Romans. I don't know. Noble Romans, like taco pizzas. They had these little tortilla chips that were like that small and they were all over the pizza. And I ate the whole thing. And I was legit depressed. I would lay down all the time after I ate. I thought it was kind of normal. I was thinking about everybody else. I'm like, how is everybody else not doing this after they eat? Why don't they feel this way? But like you said, you were just kind of getting away with it and you were depressed and people didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same here. I was just like, I'm just going to show up and I'll be fine. And then when people don't see me, I'll just lay down on the couch and be depressed again. So something was totally wrong. And then I started doing Pilates and everything changed. Everything
Yeah.
changed. And okay, so you found that tape, you started yoga, and then where did the food come in?
Well, because of the yoga and reading into yogic philosophy and karma and, like taking on the energy of what you're eating and all this different stuff, it really kind of opened my eyes into diet, and before that, like, I just saw this as a pleasure tube. Like, I really thought the Taco Bell was the height of like food, and that if I just ate enough of that, it was rocket fuel for my skateboarding, but it definitely wasn't. And so a couple months later, I went back home to Saskatchewan to go see my family, and I knew I wanted to learn more about diet, like specifics. So I went to a used bookstore, and it was one of those experiences where there was a whole shelf of books, and one book was just like, this is the shining grail. This is it. Like, I knew, like, I grabbed it. I'm like, yep, this is it. I went out, I read it, and that completely changed my life forever too, because it was a book called Fit for Life by Harvey and Marilyn Diamond, which a lot of people probably know, maybe not. But it's the most sold, most translated book on human nutrition ever printed. Like, wow. 63 languages, millions and millions sold, probably billions sold. But it's a phenomenal book, and it goes into food combining. It goes into vegetarian, vegan, and raw food. It goes into the whole holistic lifestyle aspects and stuff like that. And yeah, right from there, I took on a lot of the principles. I started food combining. I started eating fruit for breakfast on an empty stomach, and I moved towards vegetarian and vegan. And I mean, now that is like 20 years ago, and I haven't actually 21 years ago, and I haven't had a sick day since. I actually haven't like fully been wiped out for over 20 years now.
Wow. That's crazy. That's amazing and awesome. You've been wiped out in other ways, which we're going to talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
But okay, so you started eating like a mono meal of fruit. Well, it wasn't really a mono meal because you were combining, maybe, but I don't know.
Sometimes combining. And full disclosure, one of the first things I realized too, because like I didn't go from like, meat eating, drinking to just pure raw foodist like very quickly. It took a couple of years. And for a period of time, I was like, wow, like if I just eat a meal of pears, it fixes a hangover. It was like my instant like hangover solution for a while. But eventually I started giving up drinking and, smoking and all that other stuff. But at first it was just adding in yoga and adding in a heck of a lot more healthy foods. And then that just bled into more and more healthy foods and dropping the habits that didn't really support me.
Yeah. Okay. So that eating a meal of pears cures a hangover. I mean, I could see how that would happen. Okay. So you didn't go raw. You didn't go raw right away. What, first off, Chris, was the hardest thing for you to detach from? Like, was it dairy? Like that was my story. Dairy was that was the last thing to go. And were you kind of just went into the cooked food, plant-based world, plus also doing like high fruit, right? Is that where
basically, like after reading that book, what I took on like full on was the fruit for breakfast. Like I could probably honestly say in the last 20 years, I've had 5 cooked breakfasts, like ever since reading that book. So like I'm kind of A-type. When I get something, it's just like, yep, this is where I'm going. Yeah. So fruit for breakfast. And it was always just like a simple cooked lunch, and dinner sometimes would be a little bit hairy-carry those first few years, right? As I got closer and closer to high raw, which is then fruit for breakfast, fruit for lunch, and then a simple cooked dinner, right? So it slowly kind of started getting cleaner and cleaner and simpler over the years of that.
Mm-hmm. So what did you notice when you first started eating this way? Mental clarity, energy, like, did you have skin issues, gut digestion issues? Like, what changed?
Well, a couple different things. Definitely just recovery time, skateboarding, feeling better, more energetic, sleeping better. The way I kind of look at it too, like, fresh fruits and vegetables are foods that love us as much as we love them. Mm-hmm. And so I started feeling more love for myself because I was treating myself really well, between that and the yoga. So my depressive tendencies started slipping away and progressively getting less and less. My inclination to drink and abuse myself started getting less and less. But those are probably the biggest things. I guess I did have candida, which that took a little bit longer. I didn't actually fully clear that up until I went all raw. I also had pretty bad gas. I was like, ever since I was a little kid, I was known as Farter Boy. and would like close out rooms, and that's just because I ate everything and anything haphazardly. And when I got kind of into food combining and sequencing my foods and stuff like that, my digestion and gas cleared up.
Wow. Okay. So how did you ever feel stressed? You're trying to fuel your body as an athlete.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel stressed about maybe you weren't getting enough protein if you were just eating fruits? And did you ever encounter that? Did you, were you eating a lot of, at the dinner time, were you eating beans or were you kind of just more veggie heavy?
It's funny, because when I read that Fit for Life book, that just sparked my interest in nutrition. And I was every single month reading a new book on nutrition and fantasy and philosophy. I was just my nose in the books and reading it nonstop. And protein was never an issue that really came up. It wasn't something that was ever really impressed upon me from everything I learned as anything to be concerned about. More so it was about just eating enough carbohydrate and keeping overall the fat content a little low. I'm pretty blessed, I feel, to have been introduced to that right from the very beginning. So not super much with that, but I mean, there was a period of time when I first went raw, when I actually dove 100% raw, that I didn't quite understand the amount, the volume of food that I required in order to get all my calories. So I started losing weight. I was feeling amazing, but then I got to a really low body weight where I started getting some joint pains and stuff like that. And it kind of forced me to really uncover the secrets of caloric density and how much food we actually need as a raw foodist. But I've never been concerned about protein. And as we'll get into too, I recover very well. And, when you're eating whole foods, it's not really a concern at all.
Yeah. So you started feeling amazing. And your life is changing. And then you decide, hey, I want to help other people.
That was kind of a funny transition because, my first 5 years of nutritional research, I guess 4.5 years. And that was basically when I went from junk eating, smoking, drinking to high raw vegan. That was the first 4.5 years. I then was you know what, I want to be a vegan chef, but I couldn't find any vegan chefing schools. At this time, all this research, all this application was just to further my skateboarding. I just wanted to recover faster so I could hurt myself more and then recover faster and skate more, right? So then I couldn't find a vegan school that was really realistic. So my secondary option was to go into holistic nutrition or nutrition. And so I went in 2004 to the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. And it was a full-time 1-year course, intensive course. And so when I first started that's when I went full 100% vegan. 6 months into the course, I went to a vegan health festival and met some raw foodists and went raw the next day and haven't looked back since then. But the funny thing is, even when I was in school, I didn't intend to use the schooling as a career. It was still just self-study. And I just wanted to do it for skateboarding. But the day I went raw, I literally it opened my heart, opened my mind in such a powerful way. Some people would say a Satori moment where I just felt deep connection to myself and purpose in the world and everyone, that I was this is why I'm here. I'm here to share this message and to help people wake up to the power of raw living foods and to really loving themselves with every single bite. And literally that day, it was okay, this is what I'm doing. Skateboarding's fun. I'm going to continue doing it. It's a way for me to share this message to a different group of people. But this is literally what I'm here for. Wow,
that's amazing. A total awakening.
Yeah.
And that just really, speaks to the energetics of food and how food does completely change your existence, and how much of an impact it has on everything, on how you feel, on how you connect to earth and how you connect to all elements really. And how you show up in the world and, your purpose, it does have a connection. 100%.
Absolutely. It's really, really common when people get into raw food and when they start to really, consistently get enough, kind of like we were talking about, and starting to thrive on raw food, how all of a sudden their perspective of the world, of themselves, of their purpose, of life completely shifts. It's really common to all of a sudden want to do a different job or to let go of certain relationships that aren't serving them or different stuff like that. So it's powerful.
Yeah. I went raw for, I don't know, like 2 years. And you were definitely somebody that I followed because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism and like everything just like crashed. And I'm like, I've got to heal. And so I went raw, and then I finally got pregnant and I was like, I got to eat potatoes, but
Got to get some more caloric density in there.
Yeah. Plants all the way, no matter what, all the time for the rest of my life. There's no doubt about that. I have a hard time doing raw because I live in Indiana and it's cold, but that's just that we can talk about. But, you know, I had a definite awakening when I was eating that way. And it was kind of like everything just shifted in my life and my mind. And I got, you know, your yoga becomes so much more than just doing the move. It's like, you just feel different. So if anybody out there is already plant-based and you're like, man, I kind of want to experiment with raw, highly suggest that you do it at least for like a week or a month and see what it can do to your life. I think that you'll have a much deeper connection to like your existence if you do. But okay, let's go back and talking about how, yeah, you were talking about I need more calories once I got pregnant. How much are you eating? What are you eating on a normal basis? Like, can you explain the volume? Because that's something that, I mean, you know, bananas, where are you getting your high calorie foods? Lots of nuts? Like, what does it look like for you, Chris?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I'm on a higher carbohydrate, lower fat approach. So, you know, actually the beginning of this month, for example, I decided I was just going to kind of simplify and kind of clean up almost what I've considered like a cleanse, but not in the sense that I'm under eating calories, but that I was just eating whole fruits and greens and no fats at all for the first 20 days of this month. And for me, that's just rocket fuel. Like, just resets my system, gets rid of some of the smells under the armpit from, you know, lots of curry powders and onions and stuff that I like to do sometimes as well. But generally speaking, I'm getting the bulk of my calories from sweet and juicy fruits. And then I'm getting some extra mineralization and denser protein and stuff like that from lots of greens and vegetables, and then a little bit of extra fat from about a handful to 2 handfuls a day of nuts and seeds. So usually I'm eating 2 or 3 meals a day. Okay. If I'm eating 2 meals a day, it's one really big sweet fruit meal. And then my dinner meal will be like some citrus or some subacid kind of juicy fruit to start, and then a big kind of vegetable based meal. But in terms of volume, it's a lot, you know, like at least from what most people are used to. I've always been a big eater, and something that I found really interesting when I really thought about it and looked into it, most of the food I'm eating is water rich. And if I take what I'm eating and you take what anyone else is eating, if they are going to be on the same level of hydration as me, we're going to be eating similar volumes and weights of food plus liquids. They just drink a heck of a lot more liquid to make up for the dehydrating food they eat, whereas most of my liquid's in my food. So I might only drink about a liter a day. And then otherwise I eat like between 8 to 12 pounds of produce per day. So if I'm eating 2 meals, that might be like an 18 banana smoothie at lunch, which sounds ridiculous, but it ends up being about a 2-liter smoothie. Yeah. And for me, that's very normal. Yeah. And dinner, like I actually have it over there. It's like, it looks like a giant dog bowl, but it's probably about a 4.5 pound vegetable kind of curry stew.
Yum. And you're going to maybe wrap it in some raw nori or something.
You know, well, sometimes I do that, and I would be right now, but I only have 3 sheets left until my next shipment of nori comes in. But I do have them. I do have some iceberg lettuce leaves that I'm going to wrap in to make like some burritos.
Yes. The romaine always saves the day. Like I just found a head of romaine on the door of my refrigerator this morning, and I was like, thank God, because we only have like big pieces of collard greens. And I'm like, I really don't feel like a lot of collard greens right now. But anyways, yeah, you guys, iceberg lettuces and romaine lettuces, they make amazing meals with like really good sauces. Okay. So just don't underestimate. Don't underestimate. Do I?
I usually take like my iceberg and then I run it under some water just on the edge of the leaf so it lifts off the leaf. Lifts off each leaf. So it makes it really easy to take the leaves off. So I like the first 5 or 6 leaves I put on the side. So they'll be like burritos. The rest I chop up really fine. And then I just add that to a stew or a curry or a chili or salad, and then just fill them back up. And it's like, so fun. Yum.
So, okay. Yeah. And people think like when I got crazy, I was eating 5-pound bags of potatoes a day. Yeah. Not even joking. People are like, are you kidding me? And I was like, so tiny. And my aunt's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I eat the whole bag, like the whole thing. Carbohydrates don't make you fat. Anyway.
Exactly. Such a big misconception, right? I mean,
yeah. So okay, let's talk about the volume. Are you buying, we buy cases of bananas. I'm sure you have identified places where you're in Sweden now.
yeah.
Are you buying multiple cases? How fast does it take you to go through a case of bananas?
A case of bananas for me usually is anywhere from 6 to 10 days. Okay. And that's mostly me eating them. And that just depends. It's going to be closer to 10 days if I have one meal a day. And then if I have occasional 2 meals a day of them, because I'm really active and just, want to be eating simply and quick, then I might go through it a little bit faster. But it's amazing. I actually haven't had a banana for 2.5 months, which I think that's the longest I've gone out without a banana for like almost as long as I can think. Yeah. It's just right now the dates and the persimmons and cherimoyas have been on sale, and like I'm getting incredible prices here. Like for me, I love date smoothies. They are one of my favorites, and it might be like dates and hot water and some cinnamon, or just dates and frozen blueberries. But like I can have a meal of dates that is like 1,500 calories for right now about $1. So it's just, it cuts down my food bill so much, because that's my biggest meal of the day. My most, calorically dense meal of the day is like $1 to $1.50,
I spend $40 on 3 pounds of dates.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we get them auto shipped. I need to find a bigger supplier because we eat a lot of dates.
Have you checked out 7hotdates.com?
I've heard of them, but I have not actually visited their website.
They're quite good. It's just the number 7hotdates.com. They're organic and really good quality, lots of varieties, and they're really inexpensive for the quality.
Yum. Okay, I will absolutely check that out. Are you finding medjool dates? Are these medjool dates? Are they neglet or deglet?
Deglet. Yeah, these ones are actually a different variety that I don't know the name of. They're the classic kind of ones that you find in those boxes that are like plump and soft. But there's different varieties here.
That is not fair for $1. Okay, whatever.
They're pretty crazy. And yeah, like, so I've kind of found off the beaten path, like either the outdoor market or some of the ethnic markets, which generally have the best deals.
Yeah.
They're selling me by the case, and most of what I buy is by the case. So lately, for example, here I go out to a market called Abdos, and I'll buy like 1 or 2 cases of citrus, maybe a case of melons, a case of either bananas or dates or persimmons, depending on the season.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the mainstay of what I'm eating for about 10 days. And it usually costs me like $50. So it's pretty ridiculous.
Amazing. That is so awesome. That's a lot different than Canada from where you grew up. Food.
It is, but actually, wherever I go, like I make a real point of being a fruit hunter. I hunt it out. I find it. I call people. I make friends. And like, so back in Saskatoon, for example, I found a food auction where I'd go there 2 or 3 times a week, and they just get cases of stuff. And sometimes I'd score and get like a case of bananas for $10 organic, So it really depends. But most of the time I find I spend between about $8 to $15 a day on average, no matter where in the world I am.
Yeah. Okay. I just, we went on a vacation. I was creating an ebook, my first one. It's not out
congrats.
yet.
That's awesome.
So excited. But I went on vacation. I went to Florida to get away. And I brought my blender. I was like, I'm going to make my ebook. So of course, like I searched out like the farmers markets and was trying to figure out where I was going to get everything. Both of the Airbnbs that I was supposed to have that did have an oven and a cooktop, because I do cooked food. Both of them fell through. So I was just left with a hotel room and a Vitamix. And I'm like, is this your sign? Like, is this, is this the sign that I should just be doing all these raw sauces? Like, what's going on? They're not all raw, but anyway, we made it through, and it's so fun to hunt fruit. If you haven't, like, for you listeners, if you haven't done that when you're traveling, you should always seek out like what's local, because you're going to experience all these different flavors that you've never experienced before. Like in Florida, from Miami, I got miamifruit.org delivered to me, and I had never had Mamie Sapote or Mame. Oh my God. Right. Life-changing. But even better than that is Canistelle.
Yeah. Oh God, it's good. Yeah.
Egg fruit.
Sweetest fruit on the planet.
It's
That's the
what?
sweetest fruit. It's the highest carbohydrate fruit on the planet.
It's that's why I love it. It's
Yeah.
mind blowing. It is
Almost
mind
like
blowing.
cheesecake, eh? It's like a cross between like cheesecake and egg yolk, but cooked.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It is, it's called the egg, it's also called egg fruit. So if you guys haven't gotten miamifruit.org delivered to you, you need to do that, or tropical fruit box. But I think that Miami fruit is better. They have really good.
Too, if I can say, I have a 10% off coupon for them.
Oh,
The
do
Raw
you?
Advantage.
Yay.
You can get 10% off. Just use my code, the Raw Advantage. And if for some reason that doesn't work, then it's banana. But it's one or the other, either banana or the Raw Advantage. That's what all my codes are.
Oh, perfect. People are always asking me for a code, and I don't have one. So yay. Perfect. Okay. So now you guys can also experience sapadilla. I feel like I saw you eating that lately. Did you eat that lately?
It's been a while since I've had that. I've been eating a lot of cherimoya, but sapadilla, also known as níspero in Costa Rica, it's like cinnamon pears, right? Like brown sugar, cinnamon, and pears all mixed.
It's just epic. Like, you just don't know until you know. So if you haven't gotten on the tropical fruit bandwagon, aside from just the really mediocre dragon fruits that you're finding at the grocery store or bananas, like you've got to expand the palate, and your guys' life will change. All right.
I just gotta say real quick, if anyone out there has tried a fruit and thought like, this is all right, it's just because the quality of that specific fruit wasn't good. Like it doesn't matter what variety of fruit, when you get it in season, from a place that actually picks it ripe, it's phenomenal. Like you just said, the dragon fruits, when you get a dragon fruit somewhere, it's like, this is kind of watery, it's kind of neat. I went to Bali and it was by far my favorite fruit. Like I was eating like 6 dragon fruits a day and it was my favorite ever.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. And I mean, people travel all over the world for so many different experiences, and people often say like that, oh, you focus on food too much. But when people travel, like they're going for food, they're going to the restaurants. I just do the same thing. I'm just going for the local produce and what's going on there, right? And it's like, it is an adventure. You could literally eat a different fruit every day for the rest of your life, and you never go through all of them. There's so many, like 1,000 varieties of mangoes.
Yeah.
Make it your life mission to try at least 100.
For sure. Oh my God. And it's so fun. And like, so we went to Kauai. I haven't even been to Mexico yet, aside from Cancun. Like, in high school when I was literally not even coherent because I was so trashed all the time. Right? Like when I go back to Mexico, literally all I'm doing is going to the farmers markets. That's all I'm doing, because I can't wait to experience, and I can't wait to go to Costa Rica and Bali. But we went to Kauai. That was pretty life-changing. We were there for like 12 days, and every single day was a farmer's market. And, like the canistel tasted even better than it did just even for Miami fruit that like jet planes it to you over 2 days. Like it was just straight from the tree. Oh my God, so good. And yeah, dragon fruit, like literally the ones at the grocery store taste like water. They taste like water. They don't taste good at all. So I hear you. And that's a really good point. I wonder how good an actual ripe kiwi tastes, because I'm obsessed with kiwis. Do you eat kiwis often?
Yeah. Not a lot, but I've had some really good ones. My favorite ones are the yellow ones.
Oh, they're so good. Yeah.
Yeah. A little sweeter.
So I feel like I could talk about food all day. I got to get focused. Can you explain? I want to talk for sure about 2 things, Chris. Can you explain a little bit about food combining? And you're helping people, like, are they coming to you for digestive issues? And are you finding that food combining is a solution for them? Why food combining, and what is it?
Absolutely. So food combining is just a way of simplifying the way you eat so that you streamline digestion and create as little digestive energy required to absorb and break down your food as possible. Because people don't often know, like, when you eat like a standard kind of Thanksgiving dinner, people pass out because all their blood flow is going to their stomach. Like people actually like, I need to sleep, because they're requiring more blood flow than if you're running as fast as you could. It's crazy. You can use up to 60-70% of your blood flow on digestion when it's heavy. But when you eat light foods, whether it's mono, whether it's just fruit, or whether it's well combined, you're going to be bringing that down to 20, 25, 30 at the highest, so it just really makes it a lot easier on your body. The way I kind of look at it too is you just get more bang for your buck, because your body's going to require less energy, less blood flow, less enzymatic action, and less time to actually absorb the food. So there's a lot more energy left over for cleaning house and recovering and just feeling great and energetic, right? So,
Yes.
you know, I used to, it's kind of funny, like when I first got into it and read that book, I looked at food combining as like a set of rules, like kind of almost like 10 commandments, you know, like you must do this, you must do that, right? And for a time I took it that serious that if I saw someone else like eating, say, potatoes and tomatoes together, which is like a starch and an acid fruit, I would get a stomach ache because I'd be like, oh my God, like how could you do, like, just because it was so much of a mind F, right?
Yeah.
Over some time, I recognized that they make much better tools than rules. And what you do most of the time has the most pronounced effect. And if you're just, you know, mindful and you try different things and you notice what feels best in your system, then you're going to streamline your digestion by just adding more of these tools into your life. So some super basic ones, like we could really get into nuance. Like I've read like full thick books on it that goes into the enzymatic action in your mouth and all these different things, your stomach, all different parts of your digestive tract. But kind of the simplest way to look at it, one is like greens, they go good with everything. They're kind of universal combiners. So that's great for green smoothies and juices and all that fun stuff. Salads, you could mix them with everything. With fruits, typically, if you combine the foods that are similar in water content, they're going to digest better. So like, you know, watermelon and banana doesn't really go so great, but like watermelon and orange juice, sure, you know, or mango and bananas goes pretty darn good. If one's incredibly sour and one's sweet, they're not going to usually digest quite as good too. So like lemon and banana doesn't go quite as good. Or even say like mango, a really sour mango may not digest as well with a banana as a sweet mango would. A few other kind of things, typically fat and sweet doesn't really digest very well because the fat requires a longer time, more lower digestive tract digestion than the fruit does. So it holds up the fruit and ends up causing more fermentation. And then, you know, if you get into cooked foods and stuff, it goes a whole other hairball, right? But
I don't want to know, so don't tell me about the don't tell me about the cooked food. Now I'm gonna get all paranoid. I haven't gone down the rabbit hole. Yeah, tell me.
The one extra thing that I just say too is like, you know, the less you concern yourself about it and the better you chew. You know, like if you just chew really well, you're going to be, you know, doing really damn good too, right? So Gandhi said, you know, eat your drink and drink your food. You know, so if you chew it until it's liquid, you know, it's going to mix very well and digest a heck of a lot better anyway.
Yeah. So that kind of brings me to smoothies. Like, do you suggest for people maybe that are having digestive issues in any sense, a smoothie over chewing their food? Do you think that that's going to be beneficial? Like, cause they don't have to, or, you know, the salivary amylase, like, is the smoothie, like, are we hindering all of this, or is it better to just eat the whole food?
Eating whole food is going to likely be optimal. There's going to be a less oxidization of the nutrients and, you know, the food itself. And, you know, you're taking a bit more time as long as you're actually chewing it. If you just kind of like half chew it and snake it down, well, you'd probably be better with the smoothie. But if you actually are going to take the time and choose to eat when you're in a calm, balanced state where you can just actually pay attention and like make it a yogic act, you know, like an act of awareness, like take time, then you really can't be just sitting and chewing it. That said, by no means am I like, you know, throwing shade on smoothies. Or the people that think that it's bad, it just blows my mind. You know, I've seen someone from a stage say that that smoothies are worse than white sugar and compare them to like drugs, like cocaine. It's crazy.
Okay, that's nuts.
Couldn't be further from the truth. But yeah, like the big thing, and this is kind of one of those aspects of food combining that I'd recommend is, you know, eating fruit on a completely empty stomach. Most people that have trouble with fruit is because they eat it as dessert after foods, and that just ferments and it holds up the body, and then you get less bang for your buck, and it takes more time to get less. So, you know, fruit on an empty stomach is absolutely huge. Most people, I mean, an easy place to start is having a smoothie or a green smoothie or a fruit salad for breakfast, you know, and that's a really great place to start.
Love it. Okay, so you thrived during the time of your skateboarding, and you're still skating and you're still thriving and you still have all of the energy. Let's talk quickly, because I feel like when I was raw, you said it was 4 years ago that this was, which we're going to talk about, but must have been, I don't know. you had a wreck. You've been in a lot of experiences where you've hurt your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've been talking about healing.
Mm.
Okay, explain first off why the way that you eat affects how you heal. Can you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that is really the crux of why I got into health in the first place, was just to heal faster. Because, skateboarding since such a young age, and like I've rolled each ankle 100 times. I've, ripped tendons in my knee. I've fractured my back. I've broken ribs. I've broken my wrist 4 times. I've had concussions. I've, done so many things, like ridiculous amount of injuries, and then worse with like motorcycle accidents and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I got into this. And really it kind of comes down to what I was talking about before, where you end up getting more for less, right? You're getting more nutrition with less bull crap, like less additives and less things that your body really has to deal with and clear out,
Yes.
with easier digestion. So it just, and then also it's really hydrating, and just like high vibrational. So it just lends to having a lot of extra energy for your body to put that into healing and recovery.
Yeah.
And it's also a really anti-inflammatory diet as well. And high levels of inflammation basically hinder every bodily process and are the start of, one could argue, the vast majority, if not all, degenerative diseases. Right. So it's just like your body starts being able to deal with what's present rather than dealing with what you've accumulated and been dealing with and are not really dealing with. Right. So
right. Okay. So good. So many things to think about there too. And it's, yeah, like you said, it's anti-inflammatory. I mean, like everything you're eating is just jam packed with antioxidants, and that's only going to expedite any sort of healing process. You were in a wreck like 4 years ago. I remember seeing you and your girlfriend. It was a motorcycle wreck, right?
Yeah. We had just finished the gym. It's funny too, because I had set some PBs, I had done multiple sets of bench pressing over my body weight, feeling really great, and like videotaping and all that stuff. And then we hopped on my motorcycle to drive home. It was a beautiful summer day, like plus 30 in Saskatoon, on the 31st of July in 2018. And I don't remember. I just know what I've been told. But we had just left the gym, and about 2 minutes from the gym, we were going from the point where it was basically just coming off the highway onto the regular roads. We're going about 60 kilometers per hour through a set of traffic lights. And as we got close enough that you really couldn't stop, the light turned yellow. And in the opposite direction was a half-ton truck that looked up, saw yellow, and just immediately gunned it to turn left instead of seeing that we were there. So we were going straight through. And apparently the last thing I said was, they're not stopping. And and then we got hit, and they just turned right into us. So the truck speeding while we're going 60 this way, speeding as fast as they could to go through, the bumper hit both me and my girlfriend on the left shin bone, completely, like our doctor's report said, mutilated left legs, tore my knee apart, broke her femur and her fibula and tibia, degloved hand, and shoulder checked the truck. And it's crazy. You look at the truck, like, I mean, I was driving a big bike. I had a Gold Wing, a 350-pound Honda,
Mm-hmm.
But that truck was bent in, like both were completely totaled. And I woke up about an hour and a half later in the hospital, like, what's going on here? Like, what the heck, and like, it was pretty crazy. And then we had surgeries all night, and I was in the hospital for 11 days, needed to relearn how to walk and everything over the next month and a half. And Camilla was in the hospital for 41 days, and we both were in full-time rehab, like full-time job, 8 a.m. until 4 or 5 p.m. Me for 7 months, and her for like 13 months.
Oh my gosh. And I remember you guys getting your smoothies delivered. You were like, oh, thank you so much. Like, you got, like, there's no way you were going to bend on eating the crap that a hospital would try to feed you. So you got your food brought to you. That's like straight up dedication, but like that just speaks to the power of how transformational eating well can be for your entire life and your entire existence. Did that do anything other than hurt really, really bad for you in terms of awakening even more?
Yeah, I think it brought me even more into gratitude, because it's really funny. One thing that was funny, and it's also like what you ask for, you get, and
Mm.
I've been working full time the last 12 and a half years doing this nonstop, and this is all I do is share this message and help people learn how to live healthier and grow in self-love and fitness. And I did though get to a point where I was like, you know what, I just need a break. It'd been like 10 years of festivals every year and like, a whole bunch of stuff. I was like, I just need a break. And I told Camilla, like, I'd just love to take like a couple of months off and just watch all the Star Treks and just chill out.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? Universe gave it to me, right? It was like, you
Yeah.
got to slow down and just chill out,
Wow.
watch Netflix and heal, and
Wow.
I took it as a blessing. There's obviously some things that I, some negative aspects of it that I don't wish Camilla went through, but and it's been a tough couple of years just still rehabbing and getting back, but
Sure.
it just really brought me back even more into gratitude for everything I have and into the present moment and to be blessed, feel blessed for everything.
Yeah. And you are super blessed. And we are all very lucky to have you and Camilla in this world still. And, yeah, very, very lucky. I was in a very near-death experience as well, a few. So, and I'm thankful for my plant-based diet because I was able to heal even though I had 2 years of rehab. So
It's so awesome, right? And I mean, I think that's just important to lay out too, because a lot of people think like, oh, well, you're going to fall apart. Like I've been told when I first went raw when I was in nutrition school, my one teacher who was an Ayurvedist and, really into meat and stuff like that and raw butters and stuff like that. She told me like, this is great that you're doing the raw food, but if you stay on that within 2 years, you'll cleanse yourself to death. Like you will die within 2 years, and like,
oh, geez.
But then, like I said, I fractured my back. I was in this major car accident and, my doctors, my rehab specialists, like everyone's like, you heal far above the average, like I've had full blood tests and like everything comes back amazing to the point where my doctor says, this is the best results I've ever seen in my career, and so it's like, we can definitely get enough. It's just about knowing what foods and how much you need to eat and then tying it all together with a truly holistic lifestyle and not just thinking diet is the cure all for everything.
And that brings me to a perfect ending, Chris. I ask everybody this question, and you spoke about holistic. What does holistic living mean to you?
Holistic living to me really means tying in all aspects of life, not just one aspect, but looking at it as like a wheel, and if you have raw food as like your spoke way out here, and then like sleep is way down here, and then loving relationships is over here, well, you're going to be on a lopsided wheel that doesn't turn smoothly and doesn't really bring you where you want to go. But if you look at every single aspect of health as just as important, and you tie it all together, we could find 24, 30 spokes if we really wanted to. But some of the major ones people know, of course, like fresh air and sleep and quality relationships and lower levels of stress and good quality water and food and exercise, right? If we're getting those main ones and we focus on the weak links, we're going to feel the best we possibly can.
Oh, so good. My friend, thank you so much for your time and your energy today. You are incredible. Keep sharing your message, and we will absolutely be putting all of Chris's links. He has amazing ebooks. I have a few of them. And you guys, you need to go follow Chris. So thank you, Chris, again. You are amazing. And
bless you, Stacey.
Reciprocated.
Absolutely blessed to be here. And if I could mention too, I have a free app. So if you want a whole bunch of free recipes, you can start there, and then you might get perked on some of my books because they kind of poke you with an in-app purchase. But lots of free ones, over 100.
And is that the Raw Advantage?
Yeah, it's just the Raw Advantage Raw Recipes. If you put that in the App Store on iOS or Google, it'll pop up.
I have an Android, so I'm so excited. I'm going to go download this. I did not know it. You're going to make me buy more of your ebooks too. It's incredible.
There we go. Check it out. Well, there's over 100 first that are free, right? And then all my recipe videos are tied in there in the video section. So you can get nonstop entertainment and silliness.
Awesome. Chris, you're the bomb. Thanks, friend.
My absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Hopefully see you out in the States sometime as life gets a little bit easier for travel.
Yes, hopefully.